Hi, I'm Corey Gilmore, and this is Adaptive Technology Today, Episode 6. I want to apologize for my location, but transportation's been a little difficult lately, so I can't record in the place where I usually do. I also want to apologize for the lateness of this video, but I had a cold and it was making it difficult to speak. So now that I'm back, this is episode 6 and we're going to talk about Google I.O. Now, what is Google I.O.? Google I.O. is their big developer conference, right? And that's just where they announce all their new stuff and what they're doing in the upcoming year and things like this. But to fully understand what Google announced, we need to understand what Google is and what they do. Google is an information company. You may think it's a search engine on the web. That's something they do. That's their public face, if you will. But what they are is an information company. They gather information about their users, and their goal is to try to use that information to improve your life somehow. This is their stated goal. Okay? So, let me give you an example so you understand. This is my iPhone. I can ask Siri for directions. I can say, please get me to the nearest grocery store. Okay? And it can give me directions. Google has a voice assistant too, and what they do is a little different. If you ask for directions to the grocery store, they take note of the fact that you asked for directions to that grocery store, and they may do things like, oh, I see it's Tuesday. I see you always go to the grocery store on Tuesday. If you're gonna leave for the grocery store, it's gonna take you 25 minutes because there's traffic. And oh, by the way, here is the quickest route to avoid the construction that's going on. And that's very, very different from Siri or from Cortana, which is Microsoft's virtual assistant. That's a very different thing, because what Google is trying to do is look at the patterns of your life and try to give you information before you need it. So, like, for instance, they might say, it's Wednesday, you always go to work on Wednesday, and if you're gonna get to work, you better get up now because there's traffic and because, and that's an incredible thing. It creeps people out sometimes because Google knows all these things. But what they do is they provide information. And why am I talking about this? Well, they announced a lot of things at Google I.O. And one of them was a new version of Android. And it's codenamed Android L. We don't know what the L stands for. My guess is Lifesaver. The previous version was called KitKat, and so Lifesaver would make sense. It's iced tea. Product placement. See? There you go. Um, yeah, so Lifesaver would make sense. So, and one of the things about Android, to me, is that as powerful as it is, and it is powerful, it has never appeared to me to have the same fit and finish that Apple puts into iOS. Now that's an opinion, I know. And I know that I could possibly get all kinds of comments about, oh, it's fine, and that's okay. You know, your opinion's your opinion, that's fine. But I think I must not be the only person with this opinion, because one of the things that they spent a lot of time on at Google I/O was the new look and feel of Android, and it looks much more polished. There's a much more common theme between Android, between Chrome OS, which is their browser-based operating system, and all the apps. There's a common look and feel. And I think this was very much needed. It looks like something that where everything belongs together now. And why am I talking about this? Because one of the things that the new look and feel includes is a set of fonts and a set of visual effects for doing certain things like dialing the phone. Okay? And all of these things can potentially help make things easier to see. So we'll have to wait and see, because sometimes they can also cause difficulties seeing, and you have to turn them off. So we'll have to wait and see. But the point of Android isn't, oh, there's a new Android. The point of Android and the point of Google is, how can we push Google Now? And I use Google Now on my iOS devices. If I need to search for something, I have a voice-driven search engine, and I can say, find me blah blah blah. Find me, I don't know. I mean, I use Siri all the time too. But it's nice to have both, and it's nice that as an iOS user, we do have the choice. And I can see how Google Now would benefit somebody like me. Why am I talking about Google Now? Did they announce anything new with Google Now? Well, not as such. But you see, one of the things they announced was Android Wear. Now, what is Android Wear? Android Wear is their push for wearable devices running Android. So Google Glass is an example of that. And another example of that they announced was the Android smartwatches. Now, why am I talking about a watch? Okay, we've heard that Apple's going to announce a watch. We don't know if they will, but we've heard that that they're planning to. And that would be awesome. I mean, I will review it if I can get if they actually release one. I also want to review the Android smartwatches, if I can get one that will talk to my devices. Now, why would I want that? Why would you want a wearable device that talks to your smartphone? Well, I'll tell you, as a person with a disability, one of the things I have trouble with is preparing food. I love to cook, but much of the physical work I can't do on my own, so I have to direct somebody to do it. And that's okay. I'm very used to that. By the way, it also means I have a very different view of privacy, which is why I don't get freaked out when Google knows everything about me, because I'm never really alone anyway, right? It's not a big deal. Everybody knows everything about me. They all, I mean, I have to have help in the morning getting up. I have to have help in the shower. So privacy only really exists in my own head. So I don't have this, ooh, they know. I've got nothing to hide. So, they can know whatever they want to know. Alright? But I'm getting off on a tangent. I was just mentioning privacy because as a person with a disability, privacy is an interesting concept, but it's never really real beyond what's in my head that I don't share. So Google now could, for instance, if I had a smartwatch, my smartwatch could say, it's 6 o'clock, it's time for supper, is there anyone there? And I could talk to my watch and say, there's nobody here, can you order me a pizza? Right? And one of the things that it can know is that because I have trouble digesting meat, I'm what's called a pescatarian, so I eat fish and things like this. Mostly I have a vegetarian diet, so my smartwatch can know this and order me the correct pizza because I always order the same pizza. Things like this. There is enormous potential for independence. And if we start plugging this same smartwatch or wearable device into other things, you could say, turn on the TV, right? This is why I was talking about Apple's big push for what they call HomeKit, which is their home automation solution. So if you have a way to talk to all that that's just on your wrist, and you can say, turn on the TV, and you don't need help with that. The more help you don't need, the more independence you feel, and then we can start talking about true privacy. Right? Because it's something that as a person with a disability, we could obtain if we didn't need so much help. Right? It could be a real thing if we didn't need people to get us up and people to give us showers and people to help feed us and put us to bed and do all the things that entails. And yes, I do mean everything. They have to do everything you can think of. And that means the only privacy you have is within yourself. So this new version of Android, which is called L, which is very polished and looks very nice, is going to power these new wearable devices. And they're not all going to be watches. Some will be watches, some will be Google Glass, and some will be other things we can't even think of. And yes, Apple will have these things too, so it'll be okay. But the idea is to create an ecosystem that all works together. So you can talk to your watch and it all just works together. You talk to your watch because your phone powers your watch, which understands how to talk to your TV, which might talk to your refrigerator and say, "This is what you have in your refrigerator to eat. Would you like me to order more groceries?" These things are possible. And no matter who you go with, you need to develop ecosystems that kind of allow these things. So Apple's working on one, Google is working on one, and they didn't announce anything that was earth-shattering, but it is amazing to see them start to lay the groundwork for their ecosystem and to say, we are going to do home automation and we're going to do wearable devices just like Apple did. Apple is saying the same thing. And, so I'm really excited. I think the other significant thing they announced was that if you have a Chrome browser and a Chromebook, you're going to be able to run Android apps on your Chrome browser. And so there's a kind of continuity between all of their devices. And this is excellent. This means that it doesn't matter whether I'm working on a computer or a tablet or a phone. I can pick up right where I left off and I'm not limited to various devices. And Apple announced kind of the same thing with their continuity in OS 10.10. So we'll have to see how far Google takes it. But the idea that people are creating ecosystems is good. That's what the Amazon phone is about. That you can have a phone that knows what you like to buy. So you can take a picture of something and they can say, "Oh, this is a toaster oven. We sell this on Amazon for, I don't know, $19.95. Would you like to buy it now?" Right? And I'm not saying I'm going to get an Amazon phone, but what I'm trying to point out is that by developing these ecosystems, it makes it easier for people like me to do things independently, including buy stuff. Okay, because right now we have to ask people for help when we go grocery shopping. And what if we didn't? What if we could just say, talk to your phone and say, "I need grapes." And the phone said, "Okay, they're $9 at the local grocery store. Want to buy them?" And you could say, "Yeah." And you could say, "I just bought grapes. And I did it independently. And I didn't have to have staff who are overworked and underpaid to do this for me." I think that's amazing. So this is a space to watch and something to see. So with that in mind, I want to thank the Twit team for their inspiration and say good night, Leo Laporte, wherever you are.